So again, to start this, um, I'm here representing Brad Mawson, who's has an interest in, again, buying the assets to make something work here, or potentially make something work here. I understand you're shop manager,
Shop manager, yes.
and how many employees did you oversee at any given time?
I think a few years ago when we were at our peak busyness, I had 8 besides myself, so 9 of us were out there working.
Okay. Just maintenance on the equipment.
Maintenance on our equipment, basically, yes. We had 2 welders, fabricators on site, a cleanup wash bay person, and the rest were mechanics.
Okay. Site service.
We do site service, 2 service trucks we were running, and a welding truck, so they could all go out on sites. The service trucks were equipped with welders and oxyacetylene and compressors, so they could do pretty much anything on site.
So in your opinion, was the equipment maintained to keep going, or maintained to a pretty peak performance, so that to mitigate problems you foresaw things and would repair before the problem arose, or was it more of a fix after the problem happened?
Initially it was repair, as equipment operators were noting problems, and we would assess the problem from there with a service call or when it came into the yard, and offer our opinion on it. And most times we would try and get it out of circulation and into the shop for repair, or do it on site. But of course, as the company got a little more squeezed, resources became limited, it became more of a repair as necessary.
So in the end, the equipment, the state of the equipment was, there could be a fair amount of maintenance required to bring it up to, it's not up to a good quality.
Some of it will need a bit of work on it, yes, but nothing is really major. You know, we wouldn't be running it if it was really major. The worst of the problems we're now fixing at this point. I don't know if you looked in the yard, but we're doing a lot of undercarriage work, things that had been required, but we just didn't have the resources to put the equipment down and do it at that time, but it's getting done right now. I do have maintenance logs. We're running on a computer maintenance system, so anytime there's an operator or driver that writes up a report of a problem, it generates a work order, and then we look into that, and depending on the severity of the problem, we'll either look at it right away and assess whether it can keep running or not, or we'll schedule it in with a regular maintenance to have the minor things fixed.
Okay. You started the company in 1995, you left in 2005, came back in 2009?
Yes.
What was that about?
I live in Maple Bay, which is a bit of a drive from here, and there was an opportunity to try and work in Duncan for a few years, which would save a lot of driving. And I left here on good terms, and I appreciated the work they gave me, and I set up a shop in Duncan for a salvage company there and got it running, and then there was a change in management, and that opportunity ceased, and I was invited to come back here and continue on in more of a management role. When I left, I was just basically a mechanic in a service truck, although there was only a couple of us here, so you were kind of a jack of all trades then.
Okay. History, you had an virus of workers' comp. It's healed. No other health issues?
No, the only thing I had was hearing loss over the years. So it's just a hearing aid thing, so the workman's comp is paid for hearing aid, that's all. Which I don't wear at work, because I found, strange as it may seem, if you have the hearing aid on and you put the ear covers on, all the low noises are gone, and all you hear is the high noises picked up from the hearing aid, so I don't wear it at work, but it sure is helpful when you're out in company.
What's your future plans?
My plans? Well, I was in the process of semi-retirement, you might say. I had cut my hours down to, I think they were about 40 or 45 a week, which was about 4 days a week for me rather than 5 days. And I was going to work another year or two at that, and then maybe just full retirement.
Okay. What strength would you bring to the company?
I think there's several aspects that I could help a company here. One of them, of course, being that I've been here for so long that I know the basic layout. I've worked on just about all the equipment. I've rebuilt engines and transmissions here. I do all the truck transmissions and engine and rear ends and some of the engine work that's not under warranty. Same with the loaders and anything else. In the management role, and of course with my experience, I know the best place for the vendors to get the parts that we need, the best resources as far as machine shops go. Anybody that we've worked with, we have a good rapport with them, and or at least I do at the moment, so I can bring all that to play. My history of the equipment and the weaknesses of any of it and what's been done to it. I can help out there with at least eliminating a lot of troubleshooting on maybe small problems developing that have perhaps had a history that I've known about.
Okay.
So there's various ways that I believe I could help a company here.
And were you paid hourly or salary, or how were you paid?
I'm paid hourly.
What's the rate, do you mind me asking?
I'd have to look that up on my time sheet because there was, the hourly rate was $30 and change, I believe. I'd have a $2 an hour tool allowance to keep education of tooling and stuff like that up to date. And then there was, of course, there was a little benefit program running with the RSP, so much per hour.
Okay.
And I had a small service truck, or a small pickup, an S10, that I used to commute back and forth. So you have to add all those little benefits up to the hourly rate, and it comes up a little bit higher. But I had no medical here, as some of the other crew did, because my wife has a complete medical, so I don't need any of that.
And it still exists?
Still exists, yeah. She works in Duncan, and she has a good plan. She's a registered nurse, so.
Okay. What were the weaknesses that you saw here as in the position you held?
Well, one of the weaknesses, and I guess this all pertains to the last couple of years when business was getting worse or the economy was getting worse, was to get equipment out of rotation and into the shop as quick as we wanted to. That's for repairs, but other than that, and sometimes the accounting was a little behind, which caused a little bit of friction with some of the vendors getting parts. So I had to do a little searching around, and at times I had to purchase parts at a higher price than I know I could get them from another vendor, which we were not in good terms with at the time.
Okay. So would there be challenges with the existing vendors, the preferred vendors at this point?
If there's a whole new management set up and all that, would have to be all renewed, and I don't think there would be. Yes, I don't think there would be a problem with the new company gaining back the other vendors that we dealt with.
So when you said it was hard to get the equipment out of rotation, you're saying all the equipment they had was out working at a very steady pace?
Basically, yes. Just about all the equipment was always working. That would make it difficult to have a spare piece. Anytime we designated a spare piece, it ended up going out to work too. So it has been quite busy that way.
So they sold a bunch of equipment off in July. How did that affect the spare equipment? Because there was some key equipment in the July auction.
There was, yes. So there was next to no spare equipment after that. There wasn't very much spare equipment before that. There was always enough jobs and overlap jobs that equipment was always on the move and always working in different areas. And a lot of our repairs were done therefore on site with the service trucks.
So, so all of that equipment, you would say it was running 50, 60, 70, 80% capacity?
Yeah, probably.
In an 8-hour day, 365 days a year, less the weekends, what kind of capacity were they running? I mean, compared to sitting billable?
They weren't sitting very often.
So they'd finish a job, move?
They move, yes. We would tell them to swing in the yard on the low bed on your way to the next site because we want to have a look at something. We want to weld up a crack in the thumb or something like that that won't take too long. You won't even have to take it off the bed. That's how busy they have been, that it's been just from site to site.
So if it was that busy, what did you see as the problem the company got to where it is?
Well, that's hard for me to say because I'm busy in the back room and
Okay.
I don't have any knowledge of what goes on in the
Other side,
front.
okay.
And I wasn't, when any management meetings went on, they didn't include myself as a shop representative, so
Okay. How happy were you with the company?
I'm still here. I came back. I was happy enough with the company. I learned I don't know whether it's my place, but I learned how to deal with the various aspects of the company and the people in the company so that I didn't let anything get to me that way. So
Okay.
we worked well together. You know, you get to know the personalities of the people you work with, and we had a good relationship.
Okay. So, future plans, I know some of the employees thought there was an opportunity to continue with Dave on a new startup or something. You familiar or aware of any of that, or?
The only thing I've heard I would call rumors, and so I don't pay a whole lot of attention to rumors because they can be generated at any time by anybody.
Yeah. Okay, so you have not been approached or asked
No,
by anyone?
no.
Okay. What would you change if you came back? What would you see as a required change to the business?
I would get a little more organized in my department than I have been right now.
And the reason for not being organized as you want it to be is?
Well, it was the same reason that you can't always get the tooling you need, you can't always get the educational materials you need or the testing materials. And also, the shop was so busy that it is really a pretty small shop for the amount of equipment that was here. And we were caught in this little closet area called our office where you could hardly turn around and move. And that type of organization and the tool room organizing so that you can keep track of the tools. And one of the problems I had was site managers, various managers from the different areas, whenever they needed a special tool, they would tell somebody, just go get one from the shop, as if the shop was just like a rental store. And I was always fighting them for that, saying, we need these tools to fix the equipment. If you need tooling, get your manager to buy it for you.
Gotcha.
So, you know,
Okay.
there was a few little challenges like that, but overall it wasn't too bad.
So if the equipment was mostly on site, I mean, they've got 9,500 square feet of office and 3,000 square feet of shop. Would you say it should have been the other way around?
We could use it 2 or 3 more bays in the shop, that's for sure.
Okay. But because you said there wasn't a lot of equipment here, I mean, I was in the yard last week and there seemed to be a lot of parts equipment out there. A few pieces of equipment just laying there for parts. That's just kind of a short-term thing? They'd kind of strip the parts off as you need them, get them out of here, or?
I think the only one, there's a loader, a 980C, an old loader out there, which is really the only parts machine out there at this point.
Okay, the pickups, I mean, many of the pickups were quite old, actually.
Well, yeah, there were some old pickups that had some transfer case problems and different things, and I said they're probably not really worth fixing.
Okay.
And they're still sitting here because, well, that's not my decision to dispose
Yes,
of
of
things,
course.
but, you
Okay.
know, you might be able to get a part off of them, but in the overall, highly unlikely because the newer generation of pickups and parts just don't interchange.
Who did you answer to?
I worked with Jazz most of the time, and then I would ultimately answer to Serge and Dave.
Okay.
You know, and then the other managers, of course, I worked with them for the concrete plant and the crusher.
Okay. That's about any I'll have to ask. Just like I said, quick interview. Just trying to get a feel of who is who and how it was run and
Yes.
pros and the cons.
Well, we do have some records. If there's any other questions you are directed to look for, or history or something, I can show you my computer maintenance program that tracks all the repairs that have been done and all the
On every piece of
repairs that are
equipment.
waiting to be done, as you know, whatever's left,
Okay.
and how we organize at that end, paper-wise, to keep track of things and costs.
Okay. I really appreciate it. I'll cut it off there.